What's up, buddy?
What's up, man?
How you doing,
man? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Look at this.
Yeah.
And you got a tennis court?
Yeah.
We're tennis players in my house. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, my daughter plays. I don't play.
How old is she?
She's 11. She's played since she was 4.5, 5. So she's pretty good.
She's good, right?
Yeah.
My tall girl's good too.
That's what I heard.
We just got in a battle. Like a battle royale.
Boy, though, right?
Boy.
Yeah.
He's competitive.
Oh.
And we played the other day, and he was up 3-1 on me, like legitimately. So he just said, Dad, just accept it, I can beat you. And I was like, well, I always want my kid to do better than me. Do you play?
No, but I watch a lot.
You don't play with her?
Now I can't.
Oh,
she's too
good, right?
Yeah, she'll kill me.
Yeah. And you got the pool.
Yeah.
That's why I tell my wife I gotta be California.
All right, welcome back to the next episode of Wide Open. I'm your host, Tony Gonzalez, and I'm sitting with an expert in nutrition, healthy living, mindset, masculinity, all this stuff. A New York Times bestseller, 8 times New York Times bestseller, author of a new book called Clean and Lean, the great Dr. Ian Smith, man. I just want to tell you, thank you for sitting down with me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me in your house and talking to me.
This is good, and I'm excited about this. Normally, we're going to keep it in that same vein of being wide open, talking about how to level up, how to be the best version of yourself. You're a nutrition expert. I want to get your backstory. So, any little nuggets that you can always sprinkle in there that you think the audience would learn something from, please throw it in there. But first, let's start with your household growing up. Obviously, you're into health and nutrition. Did you grow up in that healthy household? Were your parents a big influence on you, or is this something you learned along the way?
Just the opposite in a way. I mean, listen, I grew up single mom. I didn't have a dad. Never knew my dad really. Met him a couple times when I got older. But my mom raised us. I have a twin brother, so she raised the two of us. So the three of us were like a triumvirate. And no, I mean, we struggled. I mean, she worked 3 jobs, and we, she had to put food on the table, and she bought what she could afford, and we ate what was there. You know what I mean? My kids, of course, have it different. Your kids have it different. But what's interesting is I really would not change how I grew up, because the way I grew up taught me how to struggle, how to survive, how to be creative, how to be resilient. And the fire that I have to succeed really comes from me wanting to make a better life, not just for myself, but for my mother and the rest of my family. And so I think that I grew up as a working class family, a classical working class, but education was always number one in my house. And we were always taught to strive for excellence in anything you do, whether it was playing the trumpet, doing my church play, no matter what I did. I was telling my son this recently. As a kid, I wanted to be great at everything I did. I never said, which is a weird feeling for me, I never said, oh, I got to do something, let me just do it and get it done. No. If it was to write a poem, I wanted to write the best poem I could write. If I was in a play, I wanted to act the best I could. If I was in all-city chorus, I'm not even a great singer. My wife was like, you could sing? I was like, listen, as a kid, if I tried it, I gave it my all, so I made all-city chorus. So, I just think that, we had a tough time growing up, but we were rich in love. We were rich in education, and I ate my grandmother cooked mostly. She's from an old black lady from the South, so we had a lot of Southern fried food with grease and stuff like that.
Fried fruit, okra, mac and cheese, all that stuff.
Oh man, you name it. Jeez, my kids have no idea. I feel so bad from how good food can be. I'm telling you a funny story. So when I went to Harvard undergrad, and so you can imagine growing up your whole life eating, fried chicken and mac and cheese and greens and stuff like that. I go up to Cambridge, and my twin brother and I go to Cambridge, and so we go to the dining hall to eat, and we don't recognize anything in the dining hall. So we're like, we can't eat this stuff. This stuff is horrible. So we'd go out of the dining hall, went into Harvard Square, and would buy burgers and fries, whatever. So after about 3 weeks, our money ran out. Okay.
Yeah.
So we had to eat in the dining hall. And let me tell you, you talk about trial by fire, like the vegetables were crunchy, and they had no taste, and everything was so bland. And so we had to eat that way. In the milk, we were drinking low-fat milk. We didn't drink low-fat milk back then. And so it was really a struggle for us, digestive-wise. And so first semester's over, we go home for Christmas break, and we go back to the way we eat. And our bodies rejected it. Like over the 3 months.
Really?
Our bodies had become accustomed to eating cleaner foods, per se. And we went back home, and my Uncle Johnny was fixing this stuff, and we would eat it, tasted great. And then that night, my brother and I'd be back in our old rooms and we'd be like, hey, I'm not feeling too well. Me either. I didn't want to say anything. But that's when I learned that your body becomes adaptive to changes in how you eat and how your body handles it. And so, no, I didn't grow up eating clean and lean and healthy and stuff like that, but your body kind of moves in that direction.
That quickly though, in just 3 months, your body went from here to there saying, okay, this doesn't cut it for me. And what did you feel like? What is that feeling? Because a lot of people don't even know. They're like, oh, I think I'm just tired today.
Oh, no. I felt like a brick was
food.
It felt like a brick was in my stomach.
Okay.
The grease was sitting in me. And I felt sluggish. My digestion was slow. I just didn't feel my usual high energy self. And I didn't figure it out until my brother, I didn't want to say anything. He didn't want to say anything. And at night we're like, geez, I don't feel too great. And he was like, me either. So it was a shared experience.
So this is in college now.
In college is when we had the change, yeah.
About how old were you then?
19, 18, 19.
How old are you? How old are you, by the way?
50.
You're 50 years old.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here.
I'm 50.
Seriously?
I just turned 50, July 15th.
Oh my goodness.
I'm in the AARP club.
I'm not, for the people out there listening, which is most everybody, I mean, you look like you're I'm not kidding you, about 35.
I still get carded sometimes. If I wear a baseball cap, I get carded sometimes. Black don't crack.
Yeah, black don't crack.
The one thing melanin helps you is it helps you look a little better. That's the one thing in the plus column.
Yeah. How much is that genetic though? Does your mom look young? Does your grandparents look young? Because
well, honestly, no, seriously, not to get overly scientific, but melanin is very protective against sun damage. The reason why people who are fair skinned look older faster and get wrinkles is because sun damage is cumulative. So out in the sun, at the beach, having a good time when you're young, you don't see it then, but it's an additive effect. And so by the time you hit your mid-30s or 40s, you take a person who's done a lot of sunning, and not just laying on the beach, I mean just being in the sun a lot. You take a fair-skinned person who's been in a lot of sun for 15, 20 years, and take a darker-skinned person, whether they're Hispanic or Indian or African-American, and you can, a light years difference. You can see the difference because of the skin. The melanin protects against the cumulative damage of sun rays.
Okay. And I'm sure, obviously, health and diet.
And health, that matters too.
Keeps you young looking too.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
You're a walking billboard. I see why you're selling all these books. You just put a picture of you on the front of it. That should be your, hey, you want to look like this? This is what you do.
But people have misperception though. Like I eat everything, for example, and I do everything. Like a mutual friend of ours, my best friends, Michael Strahan, he'll say, Doc, wait till I tell me what you eat. I'm like, you don't have to. It's on my Instagram page. Like, I will post pizza. I will post, I'm at the Chicago Bulls game, I'm eating a rainbow cake. Now, I don't eat that all the time.
Yeah.
But you can't go through life eating like a rabbit.
Yeah.
And in my books, I always say it's not cheating to eat this stuff. We're incorporated. It's fun food.
Yeah, it's fun. I agree with you. Moderation, but a lot of people don't know what moderation means.
Well, that's the problem.
My brother, he gave me an example. He was like, oh yeah, I eat moderation. Moderation, for breakfast, he's having, 6 eggs and 8 pieces of bacon. And then for lunch, he's getting a double burger with cheese and all that stuff. And he's like, after each time, he's like, I don't normally do this. I don't know. It's 6 days later. It's like, I don't normally do this. It's like, yeah, you do. That is normal.
But can I tell you something? You in particular, because you're a football player or former football player, but you guys, the way you guys eat is unbelievable to me. Like I had never seen a human being consume the food the way you guys do. The first time I realized that with Stray was we went out to dinner to eat and he ordered 2 of everything. I couldn't believe it. And he ate it all. Like 2 steaks. Like, it was like, I couldn't, like, so I was like, do all football players eat this way? Like, I guess maybe your metabolism and the amount of muscle you guys have, you got to feed it. But you guys eat, except Michael Phelps is another guy, by the way, who I was reading a thing, how much he ate in the course of the day. It was like 12,000 calories.
Yeah.
And I tried it, by the way. I tried to do that. I tried to gain 5 pounds, right? And so 1 week, my goal was to eat enough that I would have, so I was eating like 4,500 calories a day, which is a lot for me, right? And boy, did I feel awful. I felt awful. My wife was like, what are you doing? Like I was eating, because I couldn't eat it healthy.
Yeah.
I was eating like bacon, spaghetti carbonara, with cream, because it's better to get the calories in liquid fast. Oh my goodness. I gained 5 pounds, by the way, but boy, did I feel like, whew.
Yeah, that's what a lot of football players, when they get done playing, I know I'm definitely an example of this. You get tired of just stuffing your face all the time with all this food, trying to maintain weight. Now, there's guys in the league, too, that are trying to lose weight and keep weight. But for most of us, we're trying to keep those calories on, and you feel like shit. That was the one good thing about retiring is that I was able to get as healthy as I wanted to.
Well, I was going to say, but it's interesting. So it's a divergent path, right? So I look at guys like you and Stray, for example, who've gotten more toned, you're smaller, but you're toned. But then I saw a commercial with the bus on it. Bettis? I just saw it yesterday. Yeah. He's huge.
Yeah. Big.
I almost didn't recognize him. I mean, and so it's a divergent path, right? You either go one way or the other. And anyway, I think it's the way people eat, like you said, like your brother, I physically can't eat that much. In fact, if a steak is too big, I lose my appetite.
Yeah.
I tell my butcher, cut it in half. He said, what? I was like, cut it. I need a thin steak, 6-7 ounces. I'm good with that.
Yeah. We'll get into the details of how to eat for sure.
Yeah.
But getting back to so you sparked your interest. You go back from college.
Yeah.
And you realize how much this food has affected you now. And so your stomach's changed, your metabolism, everything's changed.
Everything changed.
So then from there, you said, I want to be a doctor in nutrition now. What sparked your interest to take the path that you've taken?
So I wanted to be a doctor my entire life, since I was 8 or 9 years old. I wanted to be a brain surgeon, neurosurgeon. I had read, I'll never forget this, I was in my grandfather's bed lying down reading Ebony magazine, and it was about the paucity or lack of Black neurosurgeons. And I was like, man, I was always into science. I was a science geek in that way and an athlete at the same time, but I was always into science and I was very curious. So I like to dissect things. Like I take little insects and animals and frogs and whatever. So I always wanted to be a doctor. And I also loved my pediatrician. That's really, Dr. Goldman was such a great pediatrician and I liked him. And I felt like I could actually like relax around him and tell him things I couldn't tell other people, believe it or not. I mean, it's old school. They don't do it anymore. But so anyway, my relationship with my pediatrician, my desire to understand biology and science, I was always curious about it, and reading this article, I wanted to be a Black neurosurgeon. So my whole life, if you read anything I written as a kid, it was about me being a neurosurgeon. So I go to undergrad, I major in biology, pre-med, that's great. I go to med school, and third year medical school, I finally get a chance to be with the neurosurgeons in our clinical years. And it was awful, terrible.
Really?
They were miserable. They weren't nice. Their days started at 5 o'clock in the morning, ended at 7 or 8. We never saw daylight. Like we're in the hospital. We went to the hospital, it was dark. We left, it was dark. And they just weren't happy. And I was a third year med student. And I was like, geez, I can't live like this. Like, I like life. Like these guys aren't happy. So I changed from doing neurosurgery to wanting to be orthopedic surgery, which is the bone doctors. Now, the reason why I didn't want to do that initially was because the stereotype was ex-jocks do orthopedic surgery. That's like where all the jocks go, sports and rehab and stuff like that. So I didn't want to do that because I never want to be a stereotype. So I didn't do that initially. But then I did a rotation with those guys. Oh, they were awesome. They had fun. They laughed. They hung out together. It was like, so then I transitioned into wanting to do that. Now, the way I got into nutrition is crazy, is because I graduated from medical school. I started training in New York, doing orthopedic surgery at first. And I started working at NBC as a medical correspondent, and I was writing for Time magazine. And so I was doing all these things at once. When you're young, you can do like 50 jobs. Think about it now like, geez, but I didn't realize I was doing all this stuff. But when I was writing my column for Time magazine, I would write articles about the Tylenol scare, about E. coli, whatever the news of the day was. And all my emails was about food and fat burners and weight loss. I kept saying, geez, I'm writing about antibiotics, and you want to know about fat burners. So I realized I knew nothing about nutrition, nothing. And I felt awful because my readers were asking me who was their credible source, and I knew nothing. So I said, I got to learn this stuff. So I taught myself nutrition because in medical school, you get no nutrition.
That's crazy. That's crazy that in medical school, they're teaching you nothing about nutrition.
We had 3 hours of nutrition. It's changed a little better now, but when I was a med student, we had 3 hours. For 3 hours, we went to a room, and the only reason why we wanted to do it was because they fed us lunch. Because medical school, you don't have any money, so it was a free lunch. Dr. Kirshner, three hours, that was it, of nutrition. And yet we're supposed to advise you on what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. Most doctors can't tell you how many calories equal a pound.
That to me, I mean, learning what I've learned, and I try to read as much as I can on this, on nutrition, all things health, that how much food affects your overall health, from your sleep to your brain to your heart. I mean, to everything, to your blood flow, like all of that stuff.
Everything.
It's probably one of the biggest influence on it. That and sleep, right? I mean, and
100%.
and a medical doctor doesn't know that much about nutrition. It doesn't make sense at all.
No, And they, like I said, they've changed it. I mean, I graduated from medical school a long time ago. They've changed it. So I talk to young medical students, and they say that they get nutrition, but they don't get the level that you need to, when a person comes into your office and they need to lose 30 pounds, most doctors don't know what to tell them. They'll say, okay, go see a nutritionist. Well, you can do that, delegate to a nutritionist, but you should have you're looking at their blood pressure and their heart disease risk profile. You should have some knowledge of what they should do. So I got into it because my readers kept asking me about it and I didn't know about it. And I felt like I wasn't doing them a service. So I taught myself that. And then a publisher came to me, Doubleday came to me and said, hey, we like your column. You want to write books? I was like, yeah, who doesn't want to write books? And they're like, well, write whatever you want. I said, really? They said, whatever you want. We love your column. And so one of my first books was a diet book. And I wrote it as an answer to my readers to say, this is a very small guide about how to eat well and understand what a macronutrient is and what glucose is and all these different things you talk about.
And so that's where you said, okay, I wanted to be a doctor before.
Yes.
But wow. By the way, it's funny how you said, they asked me if I wanted to write a book. Who doesn't want to write a book? I probably wouldn't. Writing a book is hard. But you're obviously Mr. Smarty Pants over there. I mean, you're Harvard, Dartmouth, right? Other schools?
Dartmouth, Harvard, Columbia, and University of Chicago.
So people like you want to write books. Okay.
Well, but you say it's hard, but guess what? Trying to run a route and you with the D-backs and stuff like that, that's hard to us too. And getting slammed. I was watching today, I was like, geez, like you're like wide open and two guys are doing a sandwich on you. That's hard.
Yeah.
So
this is true.
Hard is relative, right?
That's true. That's true. So you make that change and you say, okay, I'm going to start writing books. I'm going to take this path. And then from there, you wrote that book. Was that a bestseller? That one right there, one of the bestsellers, or did it just take off for you there and you start doing television, you start doing radio, start doing all this stuff after that?
That book was a huge failure.
Really?
Huge failure. And the reason why it was a failure, failures are always a great opportunity to learn, by the way. I love failures to some degree because I learned that I thought that book was the best book ever written. Honestly, I thought it taught you about calories and nutrients and how to lose weight, blah, blah. And when I was doing a show called Celebrity Fit Club, the celebrities on the show, I was the medical guy for the nutrition weight loss part. I gave them all a book. It was called the Take Control Diet. And after about a week and a half, I said, okay, guys, how you doing on the diet? They're like, Dr. Ian, we love you. But that book is too much. Just tell us what to eat, when to eat it. That's all we need to know. I was like, really? So first I was crushed because I thought that I had created this masterpiece. I was crushed by it, but then I listened. I've always listened and learned from people. I said, okay, that didn't work for a lot of people because it was overly didactic. It was teaching too much. Instead, they want something more kind of conversational, more accessible. So they inspired me to write the book called The Fat Smash Diet. And that book took off like a rocket. It was my first bestseller. It was a huge bestseller. And it put me on the map. And it was a thin book. Like literally, it was a paperback book, thin, that I self-published because the publishers didn't want to publish it. And that book took off and that started all my bestsellers.
That is amazing, first of all, because there's a couple things in there. First of all, the humility of listening and saying, okay, you don't like my book, I'm going to listen to you because as smart as you are, all these university and degrees, but you still can take advice from somebody and say, okay, I'm going to apply this. And then also one thing I've been sitting here, we've done about 6-7 of these shows now. And people have that type of story. When you said were you crushed? Like how crushed were you? And what were those feelings you had? And how did you pull yourself up out of that?
I was devastating. I poured my heart and soul into that book. And I felt like that's the book that people needed to break down all the information that people need to be better and to live better lives. And they just flat out rejected it. And they didn't do it. It wasn't personal. They said to me, we love you, Dr. Ian, but this book this isn't the way. And I was like, well, what do you want? They said, just give us the food and give us the schedule. And I was like, a light bulb went off and said, you got to listen to people. I like the saying, meet people where they are, not where you want them to be. Right?
Yeah.
Where they were was give us this stuff in this way. Where I was, hey, I'm this Ivy League educated guy, this doctor, this is what you need to know, how you need to know it. It doesn't work. And that has changed, by the way, that experience changed my entire life because I then became a better listener, a better learner, and a better practitioner of giving information to people.
Oh, I love that. Meet people where they
Where they
are,
not where you want them
not
to be.
where you want them to be. That's great. Is that you, or did you make that up?
I just made it up. But
I love it.
I'm sure someone else has probably said that maybe.
No, I don't know. I think that's a good one right there. That's a quote I'm going to write down for sure. Okay, so then from there, you get your career rolling. Now you're gaining some recognition. The Obama administration.
Yeah.
They invited you to be in it. What was that all about?
This is crazy. So I've been doing TV for a while. Mm-hmm. I did the Today Show, The View, all the big shows. Okay, so I had a little bit of a name. I've written some books by now. I get this call, and it's a restricted number, and they said I pick up. I don't answer it first. They call back. I answer it, and they said this is so and so from the White House. I was like, yeah, right. Who is this? I told him my guy's fooling around. Like who is this? And the guy's like, no, this is so and so from the Human Resources Department at the White House. I was like, okay, about what? And he was like, you're going to be nominated to join the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. I was like, is this serious? Like, yeah. And so it was true. And, President Obama nominated me to be on a very esteemed group, which I felt like I didn't belong. People like Billie Jean King, Chris Paul, Carl Edwards, the NASCAR guy, all these huge names, people I'd watched my whole life, but they wanted me on this council. And it was a very heady experience, by the way. First of all, to be in a group like that. I mean, like when you join the Hall of Fame, for example, like you have to join the Hall of Fame thinking about how many great players your name is now next to and your bust is next to. That's just like, that's an overwhelming feeling. That's forever, right? That's posterity. And to be able to on a council with the greatest people, I think, of their generation was phenomenal. So it was great. We advised the president. He was cool. You
guys fly out to the White House?
To the White House. We met in the White House. He took us to the Oval Office. I have a great picture in my my study where Chris Paul and I were standing next to each other, the basketball player, and the president likes basketball, Obama, and he and I played in Chicago, by the way, because he used to play at the gym I play in. He came one time, and we played, and he was like, Dr. Ian, do you ever sweat? I don't sweat a lot, right? When I play, I just don't. I don't know. And so we were back at the White House with the meeting, and Chris Paul and I have this moment where he's telling Chris Paul, I played with Doc and blah, blah. And they captured a great photo of the three of us laughing. But we go to the White House, in the Oval Office, the People's House, by the way, that's our house. And, the Roosevelt room is it's very, have you been in these rooms?
Never. No, I've been in the White House.
Well, wait for the next administration, but I probably shouldn't say that. But anyway, it is a very moving experience when you go into our White House and you see the history of it, and you're like, geez, I'm in the freaking, we're in the Oval Office. It was great.
Sweet. Did you kick his ass when you played against him?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question because I didn't guard him.
Come on, tell me.
I didn't guard him, but I tried to block his shot for sure. There was no deference because he was president. They had tons of Secret Service there, and we played ball. He doesn't want you to be. He wants you to give it to him.
Is he good? Can he play?
He's all right. I mean, he didn't play. I played in college. He didn't play in college. So for someone who is, he's all left. He's all left.
Yeah, he's left-handed.
He's very left-hand, left-hand dominant.
Did he smoke a cigarette after the game?
He didn't, but he used to.
That's what I heard.
He used to. My father-in-law used to smoke with him, but anyway, that's another story. But no, he's a cool guy. Let me tell you something real fast about him. What people don't realize is the swagger he has. Like he's just a cool dude.
Yeah.
Like he walked in the gym, the doors opened up, his shades were on, and he was just straight up pimping. Yeah. But not to impress. It's just like he just got swag. He's a cool guy. I like him.
I met him one time when he was on the campaign trail, and definitely he has that charisma that all great politicians, I guess,
they have it, right?
No matter what, whether you like him or not. There's something about him that a lot of people do like.
Yeah, absolutely.
No matter what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so while you're there, though, now you had a chance to be around the government, and there's a lot of people that distrust government recommendations for nutrition. I have a problem with some of the recommendations. The dairy industry has a heavy hand in government policy towards nutrition and stuff. Were you frustrated by anything while you were there?
The most frustrating thing was that, and I particularly think of Billie Jean King, the tennis great, because she and I were always sitting next to each other in the meetings. We were most frustrated because we felt like here you have assembled around the table some of the greatest minds in fitness, sports, and nutrition. And we only served in an advisory role, not an enforcement role. big difference. So I'd say to you, hey, Tony, 40 minutes of vigorous activity 4 times a week is what you need. That's just advice. What actually got translated to people could be something completely different. What the policy was completely different. So our job was to advise, but the policy, the policy wonks decided kind of what went out. So I thought I thought a lot of stuff was lost in translation, because we'd saying one thing and kind of what came out the other end was not exactly what we had in mind. But, you also realize dealing with it, the bureaucracy of it all, that was also frustrating.
Yeah, I bet.
It's too bloated. Like there are too many, I don't want to get overly political, but there are too many people whose jobs are to maintain their own jobs or secure their own jobs. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're here to help people. We're here for the benefit of the people, but we're also interested to make sure we still have a job next week.
Yeah.
And so I just think that, excuse the pun, but the fat should be trimmed and it needs to be leaner. I mean, it's too.
Yeah. Well, how does that affect, and then I want to really dive into some nutrition stuff that's in your book, I'm sure. How does that affect the lower education part of our communities, and the people that don't have the resources to go out there and live a healthy lifestyle? What have you come up with to help that community?
Well, first of all, I think there's a huge disconnect between people who are formulating and distributing policy and those who are being affected by the policy. So, you get like my mom. My mom's a great example. So here she was, a blue-collar lady with 2 kids, single woman, living check to check, if that, right? And, there's not a connection between the people who are deciding if she gets money, what prices are going to be on things, how we do things in school systems. Are we going to have, before school breakfast for kids? All these things that substantively impact people of the lower socioeconomic realm, there's a big disconnect. And I'm not saying everyone's disconnected. I'm not saying you have to be in that particular socioeconomic stratum to understand it, but geez, you need to really understand what's happening in people's lives. And I think that unfortunately, there is this disconnect in Washington between how the average person, the average person, no offense, the average person is not really worried about certain types of missile heads. They're worried about paying their cable bill.
Yeah.
They're trying to pay their cable bill. They're trying to keep their car on the road. That's what their concern is. And yet, out of Washington, we get all this kind of esoteric, highly intellectual stuff about issues that are important, but put the same energy to how you can make my life a little better, right? The average Joe is not asking the government to allow them to ride around in a Mercedes in a mansion. Sure, everyone would like that. That's not what they're asking for. They're saying, I'd like to be able to pay my bills on time, keep my heat on and my water on, and still maybe have a couple $100s left at the end of the month. Think about how small of an ask that really, compared to those who are in the upper echelon who don't even think about it, right?
Yeah.
Their concerns are, should I get an 8-seat private plane or a 4-seat, right? Can I get a private plane that will go the full distance from New York to LA, or do I got to stop and get fuel? Geez, I don't want to stop and get fuel. The average person is thinking about basic things, and I think that when you largely ignore them, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
Right? You have a problem because at some point, it's like the French Revolution. At some point, people of the lower economic strata, they're going to say enough is enough, right? And we're just going to go get ours. Think about that. If you're hopeless, and if you don't feel like the people who are supposed to be in charge helping you have your interests at heart, what are you going to do? At some point, enough is enough. Fannie Lou Hamer, the great civil rights activist, used to say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Love that.
Love that one.
Love that, right?
Yeah.
And so you go and you do what you got to do. And I'm not condoning people to kind of be the Wild Wild West again, but I'm trying to get people to understand that at some point, when I was an undergrad, I used to always say, and I wasn't very politically astute as a college student until I had a roommate who was, and I was competitive with him. But I used to always say, one of the problems with the haves is that they don't realize giving the have-nots just a little bit can pacify them. Instead, the haves are so greedy, they want all of it. And you just can't operate that way.
Yeah.
Right? You can't put your foot on a man's throat and he's already down.
Yeah.
Right? He's already down, you're gonna walk by him, okay, you're gonna do that. But then you're gonna walk by him and you're gonna put your foot in his throat?
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
I agree with you. So being in your position then,
Yeah.
let's speak to that a little bit with The people out there with your area expertise is health and nutrition. What can somebody who doesn't have the resources that the upper class have? What can people from the people that really can't afford to eat healthy? It's like, okay, well, you want me to get a gym membership? You want me to eat these types of foods? Well, what if I can't afford that? What's some common things that people that don't have those resources can do to eat healthier, to be healthier?
So this sounds a little old school, but I think it's really true. Like, you got to work in communities. You got to work in your community. Tip O'Neill, the great Speaker of the House, used to say that all politics are local. Like, national elections are actually won after local elections. All politics are really local. It really starts in your small community. And I think that what you have to do is you have to be active in your own community and say, listen, we got to get rid of food deserts. Like, you got to go to your, in Chicago, they're aldermen, but you got to go to your local, town council, whatever it is, your city hall, and say, there are certain things that are requisite in our neighborhoods. We need to have a place where we can go and get food, affordable food. We have to, like, for example, in Chicago, in Inglewood, which is very famous for all the violence, okay? It's not the only place where there's violence, but they get, a bad name for it. They basically said to the mayor, we need a Whole Foods here. We need a place where we can buy good food, and the prices have to be better than they are on the north side. They did it. Is it perfect? No. But the community said, we need to make a difference and start demanding of local officials who we've elected to represent us to make these changes. So first of all, people have to become more politically active and astute about how they work the system. That's number one. Number two, schools. The vast majority of kids who are in urban environments, do you know that the only organized meal that those kids get is at school? That's the way it is. Now, there's a whole conversation to be had about how not to make that the situation, but that's what the situation is now. So we need to do a better job of making sure the food that they're serving at schools is real food and not filler and fake meat, because that's the one meal that this kid is guaranteed to get is in that schoolroom. And so we need to make sure that instead of spending 99 cents on the meal, spend $1.50 and get them things that don't have, all these kind of synthetic chemicals in it. Let's do that. So, and the third thing I would want to say is that even though eating healthier sounds expensive, it actually isn't always that expensive. Yes, I get the idea you can go to a McDonald's and get, last time I was there, like, you can get like a meal for $2.99 or something like that. Like a whole meal for a kid. And I turned to my wife and was like, holy cow. Like, geez, that's irresistible for some people. If you're telling me for $2.99, I could feed my kid versus, I would like the kid to have some salmon. I'd like to have some green beans, and maybe a starch. It's going to be probably $10.99 by the time you're done with it. So I think that people have to realize that there are ways of economizing and eating healthier. Buying in bulk is a way to do it. But you just have to be more proactive about it.
Uh-huh. So what are the things as far as, and give me some definite takeaways for food. What types of foods should I be eating to be healthy?
Lean protein. Mm-hmm. So protein is very important for us. So you got to have lean chicken, meat, fish, lean. So not fatty, right? Mm-hmm. Those are great sources, or non-animal sources of protein for those who are vegans. So things like chickpeas, lentils, legumes, all these things that are plant-based proteins are terrific. Other things are fiber. America doesn't eat enough fiber, by the way. Fiber is critical for our digestion. And where do you get fiber? Green leafy vegetables, fruits. Those are full of fiber. Beans, legumes have fiber in them. What fiber does is it aids in your digestion, so it makes you regular. It helps take away some of the bad stuff. It leaches some of the toxins out of your system. So fiber is important. About 35 grams a day, the average person needs of fiber. And also hydration. So now people know I don't drink a lot of water. Like, I'm public about that. I don't like water. Like, I'm drinking water here. Typically, I would like I need flavor. Yeah. So I'll take a lemon or a lime and squeeze something in there, and I can drink it all day long. But bland water, I don't know. I feel like it has a taste of the glass, or it's just, I'm never like that. Now, but hydration, we don't hydrate enough. Your body is 70% water. And most people need between 6 to 8, 9 glasses of water a day, and they don't get it. So a lot of people are dehydrated and don't even realize they're dehydrated because they think dehydration only occurs when you're sweating and working out. It's not true. We lose water H2O is lost all the time, breathing through our skin, even when we're not sweating. Urinating, obviously elimination. So we don't drink enough. So hydrating, having better lean protein, increasing your fiber. And the last thing I would probably say is good fats. Omega-3, omega-9 fatty acids are very good. Everyone thinks that fats are bad for you. They're not. Unsaturated fats are great for you. Monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, that's good for you. And things like omega-3s and omega-9s.
Okay, so you're explaining all that, Doc. And I know what it is. But a lot of people out there, they're like, okay, I don't even know what that, okay, I get what that means. What type of, how do I get those omega-3s?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that? Is that
Salmon? Yes. You go to salmon, you go nuts. You know, almonds are great. Walnuts are great. You know, if you just Google.
You can always Google.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. The internet's great this way. Google best sources of monounsaturated fats. Go to a place like a Healthline or Livestrong.com, WebMD, they'll list. Boom, avocados, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I advise people, things like that, you gotta be careful with the internet, but things like that, where you have reliable sources, they will give you a list. Best sources of vitamin A, you know, I mean, I do that still. You know what I mean? I can't know everything. So I'll say, if I'm gonna go on a TV show and I'm gonna cover something, I say, I'll Google and say, okay, what are some of the best, you know, because maybe there's some things I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
You know, Swiss chard. I mean, who knows what Swiss chard is?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway, I'm always learning and researching myself to find these kind of sources. So that's one thing I would say to people.
Okay, so what about these, I don't know if you have an opinion on alternative meats, something like Beyond Meat. Are these, by the way, I'm an investor in Beyond Meat, so, but I want to hear the truth about this stuff. Impossible Meats is another one. All these new brands are coming out. Sure. And I actually went and saw this this documentary. I can't remember what it was called. I highly recommend it. It was really interesting. It was about athletes. James Cameron was a producer on it.
Oh, wow.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chris Paul, Jackie Chan. I forgot the name of it. Game Changers.
Oh, Game Changers.
The lovely
okay.
Nisha told me about it.
Yeah, okay.
Game Changers and it was basically like the strongest person in the world right now is a vegan.
Yes.
These amazing
It's hard,
athletes.
by the way.
Huh?
It's hard for him to do that.
So what do you think about that? Basically, the whole thing kind of bashes meat, saying meat, even in, like you talked about lean meats, saying that's better for you. But now this is like saying, okay, not even meat in general. We're not supposed to eat meat. The gladiators back in the day didn't eat meat because they're doing this, you know, samples of their bones, and they're saying they didn't eat that much meat. They eat the best, and these were the top athletes back then. So what's your opinion on this stuff? Because it's confusing, Doc. I'm getting confused now.
Listen, I'm not a vegan. I'm an omnivore. I eat everything. I'm a carnivore, herbivore. I eat everything, okay? And I feel like meat has its place. And I think that meat is the best source of bioavailable, which means that protein that your body can use right away and use it to build muscle mass, okay? Meats and fish are the best source of that, okay, for bioactive or bioavailable protein. Now, that being said, there are people who don't want to eat meat. My best friend from college hasn't had meat in, 25 years. You know, okay, great. I'm still having a burger. I mean, you know, because meat does have an advantage. It's not that meat is bad. It's the quantity that we eat, right? You shouldn't have red meat 3 times a week. Now, that is a problem.
3 times a week. Do you mean 3 meals? When you say that, though, you're saying, okay, I can't have it Monday night for dinner, Wednesday for lunch, I'll have a burger, and then maybe one time, and that's it for the whole week. There's no such thing as breakfast, lunch, and dinner having meat part of your diet.
Not red meat, but chicken's better.
Chicken's better.
Right? Chicken's better. Fish is better. Fish is the perfect, for my opinion. And there are a lot of fish, so, you know, some fish you may not like, or I'm a salmon guy. Some people don't like salmon, but you know, trout's great. But the thing is that people understand that people who don't want to eat meat, these new non-meat products are awesome. They're great. They're plant-based, as long as they're, you know, don't want to be, you want them to be non-GMO, right? Yeah. Genetically modified, non-GMO. But these things are great. They're awesome. And they taste good, by the way. I had some.
Yeah.
Like you can't.
Yeah, they're great.
They're great. They taste fine. So I'm not against these things. What I'm against is when people all of a sudden start this craze and they vilify an entire nutrient or an entire food product based on what's fashionable. That's not how things work. Like, you know, carbs are a great example. I'm not doing any carbs. No carbs. No. Are you kidding me? Carbs are the one macronutrient you need the most in your body. carbs, the body's fuel source, the brain's fuel source, number one, is glucose. So for you to say to me, I don't eat carbs, you have to eat carbs. You can't live without carbs, literally. You cannot live without carbs. And so I think what happens in the popular media is people kind of get attached to these trendy things and they make these wild statements and they have no scientific background to make them. And so my attitude has always been, listen, carbs are good for you, the right carbs, the better carbs. Also, meat is not horrible for you, but it's about the quantity of meat. It's about getting it antibiotic free. Make sure there are no hormones in the meat. Make sure that it's wild and it's out in pasture and it's not caged. Okay, so there's a way to do it, but I think that if people don't want to eat meat, the non-meat products are great. They're fine.
And what about all the diets? The Atkins diet, was that about 10, 15 years ago now? Then
now it's keto.
Now it's keto.
By the way, keto is the Atkins diet dressed up in a different suit.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely. These things they've been around since my mother was, getting ready to give birth.
Do you go into, well, I guess we'll get into that. One thing that I know you do intermittent fasting, right?
Yes, my new book is intermittent fasting.
Okay. I intermittent fast. I've been doing it for about a year now. I feel great.
Feel great, right?
Yes.
Can I tell you how I got into it, by the way?
How did you get into it?
So I understood intermittent fasting, but never thought about using it as far as weight loss. And two things happened simultaneously. First of all, one of my good friends, Nazi Muhammad, who used to play basketball, NBA, he and I were golfing. And, at the turn, I eat hot dogs only at the turn on the golf course. Always. I get a dog, So we were golfing and he didn't want anything to eat. I'm like, what are you talking about? Let's eat. Let's get something to eat. He's like, no, I'm good. And he pulls out a gallon of water. I'm like, dude, you're just drinking water? He's like, yeah, I'm doing this intermittent fasting. I was like, you are? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, tell me, how's it going? And he was like, man, I feel great. He said, I've had the most energy I've had even when I was playing ball. Like I feel energetic. I've lost weight, whatever. I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. Simultaneously, one of my followers on Facebook, I have a group. So by the way, if you should join some of my groups on Facebook, they're free, they're awesome. One group is called Cleaner, Get Leaner. But this lady, Bev Simon, DM'd me and said, Dr. Ian, could I do the Clean 20, which is the book before this? Can I do that with intermittent fasting? I was like, I don't know. Give it a try. And she did. And she was at a plateau and she started losing weight. And she said, Dr. Ian, I feel amazing. So the fact that an ex-NBA ball player and the 60-year-old, church lady and down in Maryland said, this is great. I was like, wait, this could be something. So I started looking into it more. And so clean and lean basically is eating cleaner foods, but also doing it on an intermittent fasting schedule. Let's quickly break down what intermittent fasting is because it confuses people. Intermittent fasting basically is alternating periods of eating with periods of not eating or fasting. It's not starvation. So you're not going to go 24 hours not eating. People think that when they see fasting on there. The reason why it works is this. When your body is not eating food and not getting calories, your body needs to get calories from somewhere, right? Every second you're alive, even when you're sleeping, you need calories. You need energy because your heart has to pump, your lungs are moving. That requires energy, right? Mm-hmm. Where's your body getting it from? Well, it gets it from the calories you have on board, or it gets it from your glycogen stores, which is a storage form of glucose, or it goes into your fat stores and breaks down your fat and transfers that into energy and you use it, okay? Intermittent fasting drives your body into your fat stores because you're not getting energy from other sources, right? So if you wake up in the morning at 6 and if you don't eat till 9, where are you getting energy for 3 hours? Your fat. Mm-hmm. You're breaking down your fat.
Yeah.
So it's very productive. It leans you out, right? Now people say, well, geez, I can't go that long without it. You actually, after a few days.
Yeah, you get used to it.
You get used to the schedule.
Yeah.
And so your body actually isn't calling for the energy anymore until when you're at the end of so there's a period of eating, your eating window and your fasting window, right? So you establish, sometimes your fasting window could be 12 hours, 10 hours, 14 hours. It's based on kind of what your schedule is. But the one thing is you must keep it consistent. You can't do a 12-hour fast one day and then do 14 the next day and then 16. Nuh-uh. It has to be consistent. You can change it every 10 days or something like that, but you need to be consistent.
And so that intermittent fasting, does that mean, can you drink coffee with this?
Good question. So during your fasting window, in my opinion, during your fasting window, you cannot break the fast because once you break the fast and introduce enough calories, your body switches from burning fat for energy to using what you just consumed for energy. And we want to keep the body in the switch mode of burning fat, right?
Yeah.
So we don't do anything that's going to stop it from going to our fat stores. So I say 25 calories or less. You're going to have coffee. So you can't have all that mocha, latte, chocolate, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to have coffee, and on my program, I say you can have coffee, make sure it's 25 calories or less, because if you go more than that, 25 to 50, you go more than that, your body then is going to switch out of fat burning mode into using the calories you just put on board.
Yeah. So, like I said, some confusing because, and I don't know if it's just that way, if it's done on purpose. So with other doctors that would dispute you on some of this stuff or have a different opinion, do you talk to other doctors who have different opinions than you, or is it, you guys have doctor fights? You guys what's going on? Because you can. I'm sure I could bring a doctor and he'll sit right in that chair, or she'll sit right in that chair, and she'll be like, well, you know what? Actually, he's wrong. You should be eating vegetables. We were herbivores from the beginning. Look at our teeth. I mean, so what goes on? How do you deal with all this different information that comes at us? I
think now, given where I am in my career, it's not usually a face-to-face confrontation. It's usually kind of social media, or someone will write an article and say something and I may disagree with it. I don't publicly get into fights with people in general. I find them to be kind of unproductive.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But I mean, do you collaborate? Okay, let's all learn a little more. If you got something different than what I'm thinking, let's get together and see what this
for
says.
sure.
Yeah.
So I'll meet up with a doc and say, tell me about this. Because like I said, I'm a learner for life. I'll be a student forever. I'll say to me, let me try to understand why you think that keto works. Because from my standpoint, keto is very dangerous. I mean, keto practices almost every principle we tell you not to do. Foods that are high in fat, high in calories, too much protein. Physiology class, which we all take as doctors, says these are the things that lead to atherosclerosis or plaque building up in the arteries. So why are you now saying that you think it's okay for people to eat all this stuff? Now, I get it why lay people do that. They do that because Beyonce did it and because someone on the cover of People magazine did it. I'm not worried about those people. I'm worried about why someone who's supposed to know fitness and health, I won't mention any names, why is he advocating for people to do the keto? Now, let me tell you this. The one person, believe it or not, who I've agreed with is Jillian Michaels. Jillian Michaels and I have had our thing, but Jillian is very anti-keto, and she's right about it. And I'm anti-keto also. And, I'm anti-keto because it is not a long-term solution. You cannot continue to eat that way forever. Sooner or later, you're going to eat carbs.
Yeah.
Right? And the problem with keto is, and we won't get into the science of it, but the problem with keto is keto puts your body into an artificial state of ketosis, which means that you're burning your fat and making ketone bodies, ketosis, okay? And your body uses that for energy instead of using food energy, okay? Or instead of using sugar, because there's no sugar, right? Here's the problem. The minute you eat sugar or carbs, you stop that process of ketosis. You stop it. And now you're back to your regular way of metabolism, and your body all of a sudden starts gaining the weight back because you've now ended that. So my point is, you cannot stay in ketosis forever. It's very hard to live like that. So sure, if you said to me, hey, I'm going to my Hall of Fame ceremony. I want to make sure I get into a 44 long. Okay, will keto work? Absolutely, it's going to work. You'll hit it hard for 2 weeks, but come see me in 6 weeks or 8 weeks. You're not going to be able to make it.
So it could be used for something as a little shred here.
Yeah.
But we're looking for lifestyle, at least for me. I like lifestyle. I don't want to do a fad or anything like that. So clean and lean. People, you're doing the intermittent fasting combined with your diet eating protocol, cleaner eating. Yep. What is some? Give me one quick success story of what somebody has done off of it.
So we had a lady in Canada who been in our groups for a long time and decided to go on clean and lean. It's a 30-day program, but you can do it more cycles, right? And she was like depressed because she just was at a plateau. And she went on clean and lean. I gave her the early version before it even came out because she hit me up on Facebook. And she lost like 15 pounds in 30 days.
15 pounds in 30 days.
It's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of weight, especially if she's, how much?
She was only.
If you don't want to tell me what she weighed, how much did she weigh though?
Probably 150, 160.
Oh,
she wasn't obese, morbidly obese. No, she was, probably a size 8 or 10. She was, and she dropped 2 sizes.
And men, the same thing.
Oh my goodness.
You'll get
truck drivers, It's amazing, like the people who like, truck drivers from Indiana who like follow me, who do these programs. Guys don't like to talk about weight loss. They don't want to say they're on a program because they got it. That's just a guy thing, right? They don't want to say I'm doing it, but really behind the scenes, they are home on a real program with their wife, but they're not saying that to the fellas. But I got guys. I got a guy from West Virginia, big old dude who lost 100 pounds on this in 3 months. By the way, yeah. So
yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
So with a lot of this stuff too, a lot of people, I think, one thing that's overlooked. Yeah, you'll lose weight. You will lose weight, and you'll feel better. But also, you'll think clear too. That's one thing I remember when I changed my diet back in year 10 in the year of NFL. I was slowing down, but before that, you name it, I ate the damn thing. And I got off all that stuff. But not only did I shred up a little bit, but I could last longer. My endurance was longer. My sleep was better. My thinking was clearer. Like all this. So all this stuff happens on this diet too, right?
So when people hit me up beyond the weight loss, and when I do my interviews on TV, I always say, I'm happy to get those pounds off you. It's the other reports I love. People saying that their blood pressure is lowered, that they're sleeping through the night. One lady said that at work, she was always felt like she was in a fog, but she felt like her mental acuity was sharp again. You know what I mean? There are all these different things because these foods are full of antioxidants, disease fighters, right? Everyone hears the word antioxidant, by the way. An antioxidant is a food, a chemical that fights something called a free radical. Free radicals are, imagine like a Pac-Man, right? So imagine the free radicals are those little dots in the Pac-Man screen. I'm kind of dating myself, but okay.
Yeah.
But imagine the dots are free radicals and they can kill you if they stay. Well, the Pac-Man is the antioxidant and it gobbles them up. So that's why we say eat a lot of antioxidants so you can eat up those free radicals that if they stayed in your body too long can damage your tissues. So people are saying they're eating all these antioxidants and they feel energetic. They feel younger. I mean, it's like they're superfoods.
Yeah. You know, one thing I've incorporated into my diet lately, and I used to do it a lot, but I finally just got back into it, making just a nice big old green smoothie with fruits and coconut water and coconut milk. And it's phenomenal. You feel so much better. You talk about fiber too.
Yeah.
Feeling regular.
Right?
Feeling great.
You got fiber. It fills you up.
Yeah.
You know, I did this whole book. It's called the Shred Power Cleanse, which was all smoothies and salads. And I'm a sweet smoothie guy. So I have a green smoothie, but it's a sweeter smoothie. I don't like to feel like I'm drinking grass.
Yeah.
That's just not my thing, right?
Yeah.
But I put, berries and natural sweets from fruits in there, and oh my goodness, it's good.
Tell me rattle off a couple things that I need to stop eating right now. Like if it's in your refrigerator, get this shit out of there right now. What
processed foods like frozen, like Pop-Tarts, frozen foods are a really big minus. Now I say that to say this: frozen fruits and vegetables are good, but make sure they're either flash frozen or organic. Okay. But when you add all the sodium, a lot of those things have all the sodium added to them, all these chemical fillers. So that's got to go. I mean, I will eat frozen fruits and vegetables, particularly for my smoothies. Like it's better to have them frozen because it's cold already. But I'll make sure they're organic or they have no sugar added or anything, no additives whatsoever. Okay.
Fast food? You eat fast food?
No.
Do you recommend fast food?
I don't. Well, okay. Do I eat fast food? I don't eat classical fast food. But I will eat, my kids will eat Chick-fil-A. That's fast food.
Oh, you buy your kids Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, the chicken, I think the chicken's fine. Well, I'll eat fries sometimes.
God, don't tell my kids that. I've been telling them, no, you can't have any, but.
What, Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think Chick-fil-A, I mean, I'm not trying to endorse Chick-fil-A, but there are plenty of
my kids gonna let me have it now.
Yeah, there are plenty of convenient food places that do a good job.
Okay.
They're burger places. I won't mention any names, but they're, it's not McDonald's, but they're burger places that have good burgers. You can see the meat. They make fresh patties. I'm okay with that. I make burgers at home. I mean, they don't spice it like I spice it, but it's okay. I'll eat some fries every once in a while. I love fries. In fact, fries were the first thing I'd let go. I could eat fries every meal. I love fries. And I just said it. When I started weaning myself, I was working in New York at the time. I said, okay, Ian, once a day for fries.
Once a day? You're eating fries every day?
That was a cutback for me. Once a day. Then I got down to 3 times a week. And then a couple times a week I ate some fries. But once again, I don't eat like...
Yeah, moderation, right?
Yeah,
intermittent fasting, moderation, keeping it mostly clean. Kind of like an 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I try to always tell
I say
people.
70-30. You're a little more strict than I am.
Uh-huh.
I say 70-30. If you could eat on balance, decent, 70% of the time, and 30% of the time you can have some fun, you're gonna be good.
Nice. Okay, great. I want to talk about your rituals now. Like, I think you already gave us a good example of how you kind of eat right there. Do you do anything else as far as mindfulness? Do you do any type of? I always ask this, like meditation. Do you do prayer? Do you do?
Yeah, I pray.
Stillness.
I'm spiritual, so I pray a lot. I pray before every meal. I pray before I go to bed at night. I get on my knees. I pray before my plane takes off. When it lands, people look at me like, "What is this guy doing?" I believe in prayer, and I pray now. And I'm not getting into like who you worship, but But I think that prayer is not necessarily about who you're worshiping. It's more about you saying that I am a small speck in this world. And it's you showing your humility that there's a greater power than you. Because I believe that the universe is bigger than all of us. I believe in the universe. I believe in universal energy. So I am constantly, in front of people and by myself, just saying, listen, I'm humble. I'm grateful, but I am only this small thing. So I don't let stuff get to my head. The other thing is, we just got back from Japan. And wow, that was a transformative experience for me because it was an extremely peaceful place. And I wish everyone could travel like that. That's another sad thing. I think we should be funding schools so kids can go abroad, not just to go to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
They need to go see other people in other countries.
Cultures,
and they need to call the cultures. And they need to learn, like my kids are fortunate enough to do this, but they need to learn that the same sun that warms you warms somebody all the way around the world. And the same moon you go to sleep at night, you don't own it. They think it's theirs too. We all share this place. And in Japan, one thing I learned was the importance of tranquility. I was there for 2 weeks and never heard a loud voice.
Yeah.
No yelling, no fighting, nothing. Everyone's peaceful.
Yeah.
Not only are they peaceful, everyone's orderly. Like when you get on the subways, you line up to get in the subway car.
Yeah.
There's no jostling and pushing and threatening. You read about all these like New York City subway fights and stuff because so-and-so was sitting in his seat. Old person walks on the train in Tokyo, you know what they all do? They get up.
Yeah.
A woman with kids, you get up. So, and I love our country. Our country's great.
Yeah.
I still think it's the best country in the world, but there's a lot we can learn. And so from a spiritual standpoint, what I got from Japan these last 2 weeks and going to all these different like temples and shrines, what I learned was they have the Shinto shrines is a great philosophy. And their philosophy is there are millions of gods because everything that is living is a god because it deserves respect, right?
Yeah.
It's not one being, it's life
and everything.
Life should be honored. And what I learned for myself is that when I came back is that I need to learn how to slow down and not allow the pace of the world that is in America make me go too fast and appreciate things, right?
Yeah.
Walk around my neighborhood and appreciate looking at stuff and looking at trees and fly. It just sounds very cliche, but it's very true. Because when you have a greater appreciation for things around you, then you become more respectful and you become more grateful. And then you become, I think, a better citizen.
Yeah.
Right. So, a guy almost blew a light on me the other day. He did blow the light. I thought I was going to die. I was at an intersection. The light turned green. Luckily, I was paying attention and not on the phone or anything like that. A guy in a Jeep was going 80 miles per hour and blew, literally seconds, he would have killed me.
Yeah.
He would have gone right into me, right? And I said to my wife, I called and told her, I was like, geez, this just happened to me. But what I realized is that in the old days, I would have chased that guy. I would have turned my car around and been like, dude, are you out of your, nope.
Yeah.
Took a deep breath. I got 2 kids at home.
Yeah.
I got a decent life, good life. Be calm.
That's good perspective. And on top of all that, when you have that type of respect for life and that type of appreciation and gratitude, that makes you feel better. And that's the thing 100%. About it. A lot of people, you're doing it to help other people, but it also makes you feel good in the process. I love that perspective. I like Japan too. I went there last year with my wife and the same type of thing. I remember we were walking home at probably like 1:30 in the morning. Nobody's on the street except these other 2 people. We get to the red light to cross a street and there's no cars or anybody. There's nothing. It looks like a ghost town right now.
I know what you're going to say.
And we're sitting there and I'm about to walk through the light, because even though it's red, There's nobody on the street. These people were sitting there and they wait for it to turn green, the walk sign to turn green. And I remember I felt like an ass and I'm like, okay, I better wait because that's the custom around here. But that's how they do it. It's very different. It's
same thing happened to me. You know what I did? Because I'm used to walking New York streets.
Yeah.
You walk against the light. If it's no, I was like, whoa. And so I had to dial back.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there waiting, looking, but I waited.
Yeah.
We need to do a better job of being respectful of other people and cultural differences, right?
Yeah.
It's not about right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's about being respectful.
Respectful. And you're there. That's what I said to myself. I go, yeah, if I was in LA or New York or whatever, I'm crossing the street. But we're here. This is a new culture. And actually, honestly, I felt more at peace for whatever reason.
See?
Like I'm not in a hurry now. Like, what the hell am I hurrying up for?
Yeah.
I've been out it's 1:30 in the morning. I can't wait 30 seconds.
I'm just going back to the hotel room. You can't wait a few.
Yeah. And just follow the rules.
Yeah.
Just have a good time and follow the rules. So anyway, that was good for me. So that's your routines. What about supplements? Being a doctor, do you take anything, a multivitamin?
I take a probiotic.
Take a probiotic?
Yes. So there's a Jetson. It's a seasonal probiotic.
Mm-hmm.
Every season it changes. So probiotics real fast are live strains of bacteria because inside of your gut, there are good bacteria and bad bacteria. You need both of them and they live in a balance. And the reason why a lot of people are sick, they have an unhealthy gut is because that balance is off kilter for whatever reason. They got an infection, they're not eating right, whatever. It can throw your balance off. And so probiotics replace those bacteria with live strain bacteria. They don't kill you, but your body needs that to live and makes you healthy. So I use this probiotic. It's called Jetson, Jetson, like the Jetsons, like the but it's a seasonal probiotic. So every season the strains change. So it comes to your door, direct to you, and so I take a probiotic every morning.
And that's it. What's the difference between a probiotic and a prebiotic?
Great question. A prebiotic fuels the probiotic.
Okay.
So a prebiotic kind of makes the probiotic work better.
Okay.
Right? It like tease it up kind of, right? That's what a prebiotic does. So a prebiotic on its own is very helpful, but the way it's composed, it makes the probiotic more effectual, more impactful.
So you would take that and then take your probiotic.
Yes. Take a pre, then a pro.
Do you take anything else like what's making a big splash, what I've seen, at least in my world, is mushrooms. Not psilocybin mushrooms, but mushrooms, turkey tail mushrooms, look, he's giving, you guys can't see, he's giving me a little smirk here. Lion's mane for your neurocognitive skills. There's great, at least
there's
when I read.
There's studies.
It looks like the studies are saying that this, but obviously you don't take that stuff.
Well, I don't take it. I feel like, almost every food has food is medicine. Food is thy medicine. That's a good expression, right? Because food has medicinal properties. So do mushrooms help? Yes. So squash helps and cucumbers help. Everything has a role. The reason why you see me kind of like doing like, oh man, is because unfortunately people take things and they over magnify what it can do for you, right? All of a sudden now, someone has a neurological illness. Oh, they're low on the mushrooms. Well, it doesn't really work that way. Medicine doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? So these are things that will help, and to live healthy, you need a whole armamentarium of tools. This is a great tool to have. I particularly don't like mushrooms. My wife does. I don't, but it's a great tool to have. But is it going to be the end all be all? No. No one thing. There's no magic bullet.
So like niacin, I've heard.
Niacin's great for you. But guess what? If you eat, like we said, that if you follow 80-20, you're getting niacin already.
So most of it, you can get it from your food.
Oh.
That's what you're saying, basically. You intermittent fast and get it from your food.
Yes.
Work out sensibly. Stress management, you're going to be healthy.
I read a great study because everyone wants to take a multivitamin. Now, older people should take multivitamins because they don't eat well. In general, they don't eat enough, they don't eat well. Okay, older people. But the average person, by the way, who eats fast food still, by the way, the average person is consuming 90% of what they need through their food. They don't need all this. People walk around with these Ziploc bags like with 20 pills. You're getting in your food already. And by the way, like I said, the word is bioavailable. Nutrients are better for your body, more bioavailable to your body through food. These synthetic compounds, the absorption rate for many is very low. Like, you can take a pill, but who says that it's going to go into your system versus going out? So, I'm not against supplements, but you got to do your homework, make sure they're credible. These supplements are credible. And, but I'm a probiotic guy. I do believe in probiotics. My kids take them.
herbs, stuff like that, like holy basil or ashwagandha. Have you heard of that one?
Yes, great.
All that stuff. That's not a food. It's an herb, right?
It's great.
So you can like teas and stuff like that.
100%. Here's the one caveat though for people. If you are taking herbs and supplements, you need to talk to your doctor if you're taking prescription medications. Because if you're taking an herb that can lower your blood pressure and you're on blood pressure lowering medication, it's a synergistic effect and it could bottom out your blood pressure. See, in the old days, when I first started doing medicine, herbs, we didn't really talk about herbs. Now we realize, geez, this person's taking ginseng or taking garlic.
Yeah.
Using garlic.
Yeah, turmeric or whatever.
Yeah, and these things actually have a medicinal effect on you. And if you're taking prescription medication on top of that, it's too much. You can lower your sugar too much. You can lower your blood pressure too much. So people need to not that they shouldn't do it, but talk to your doctor and say, hey, listen, I want you to know I'm taking, 10 milligrams of this. So they know.
Perfect. Okay, a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Your workout routine. What do you do?
So I love free weights because I'm a guy who writes about weight loss, and I'm always trying to maintain my weight. I'm hypermetabolic. I've always had a fast metabolism. So if I don't eat well and work out, I just get skinny. And I don't want to be skinny. I want to have some kind of, So I lift free weights 4 times a week. And I do cardio probably 3 times a week.
Your cardio, what does that mean? Like, how long is your cardio?
Well, it depends. So if I'm in the gym, then I run really hard, and I will only run no more than 2 miles, but I'll run hard 2 miles.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, I've said to people, I did this on my Instagram. By the way, my Instagram is at Dr. Ian Smith. Spell the doctor out. I do a lot of challenges. So one challenge was my 1 mile challenge. Every day for a week, run 1 mile as hard as you can, not one step more.
Every day?
Every day.
The challenge. For
the challenge.
Okay.
1 mile as hard as you can. Forget the 5 miles and the 7 miles, because guess what? If you ran that 1 mile, there is no greater way to burn your fat and to get your metabolism up than running that mile as hard as you can. So if you're doing like a 6:45 mile, like that'd be a good hard fast mile for me, versus an 8 minute, which is a leisurely mile. The impact is much different running that, But anyway, so I do cardio. So cardio looks like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Or when I'm playing sports. Cardio just isn't a gym, by the way.
Yeah.
Cardio is actually,
tennis. You play tennis.
Yeah, I'm playing tennis. I'm playing ball.
Like that.
Geez, nothing better up and down the court. Stopping, moving, which is a form of HIIT, by the way. High intensity interval training, right? Where you go 35 seconds on, 20 seconds off. That's HIIT. So it's the oscillation of intense energy with low energy. There's tennis and basketball and soccer are sports that do that, right? Think about it. Like you run down the court, you stop because someone got fouled. Yeah. Then you're running again. That's really HIIT, really, to be honest with you.
Infrared saunas, stuff like cold therapy, cold showers. I've heard a lot of stuff out about that.
I personally don't do that, but yes, the science says those things are good.
Okay.
100%. I think it's 60 minutes. Someone just did a big piece on cold therapy. Yes, cold therapy is good.
Yeah, I've been doing the cold showers for almost 2 years now.
You ever do ice bath?
Ice bath. I have one in the backyard.
Really?
Yeah. I said it's at 57 degrees. It's not quite ice cold, but it's cold. You'll get in there and be like, oh, okay. Time to go to work.
Yeah, but do you kind of feel warm after a while? Or
you get used to it. As an athlete, I thought for sure you would.
I never took them.
You never did the ice baths after practice or something like that? I mean, obviously it's been around for a long time. There's healing factors in it, but I love it. I put my kids in there too.
And they're okay with it?
Just someone put their feet. They love it. First of all, it's kind of like a challenge for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they love it. I do it every morning. I take a warm shower in the morning. Yeah, every morning. Warm shower in the morning, and then the last minute to 2 minutes is cold. Over the top of my head, as cold as you can get. Lift your arms up. You want to hit the hot spots. It wakes you up though. But you feel so great coming out.
You do, right?
I love it.
It's cryotherapy.
Cryotherapy, type stuff. And the last health question I want to ask you about is sleep. How much sleep do you get? And because that's something I've been really, really hammering away on is getting my good sleep.
I'm getting better with sleep. I was really bad. And the reason why I got bad is because I did medical school. When you're a medical school or a resident trained to be a doctor, your sleep is awful because you're on call. You're sleeping 4 hours, 3 hours sometimes, literally.
That seems so bad from what I've heard from sleep, like lack of sleep, what it can do to you. There's a great book, and I'm going to have him on eventually. His name's Matthew Walker. He's a professor at Berkeley, and he wrote this book called Why We Sleep. Highly recommend it for people out there. But anyway, I had a chance to speak to him, and he was talking a little bit about doctors. You just reminded me of this, where he's saying lack of sleep has shown if you're not getting enough sleep, like your cognitive skills go, your motor skills go, your ability to focus go. Now you can train it, just like an athlete in the fourth quarter can still have his wits, even though he's exhausted. So that's where I would refute that maybe a little bit, and I'll ask him about it when he comes on. But one of the biggest things you can do to help your overall performance is sleep, according to Professor. Well, and you not getting enough sleep in medical school and medical doctors, if they're not getting enough sleep, that kind of scares me if that is true, what he's saying.
This guy is completely right, by the way.
Uh-huh.
Let me do 2 quick stories if I can, okay?
Sure.
So when you're in training, your residency, sleep is not a priority. I mean, you're a grunt. You kind of got to do what you got to do. You're on call. It's crazy. So one night, I was rotating to the ER, and this is why, by the way, they've changed the rules, but not all hospitals are enforcing them like they should, because they've realized you can't. We're human beings. I don't care if we're doctors or not. We are taking care of people. We could hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So one night, I'm in the ER, and I was rotating to the ER this shift for 3 months, and ER doctors work on shifts, 12-hour shifts, 12 on, off. So you could be like midnight to 12 the next day, then you're off. I wasn't used to that. I was just a surgery intern, but I have to still do the ER. So I'm in there and I couldn't get the schedule right, because when I go off work, I'd go and it's daylight. I'm going doing stuff. I'm not going to sleep, right? So one night I'm in the ER and I had this patient, and the patient was time to go home, and we were discharging him. And so I was writing his prescriptions for him. And I'm in the bay, where the doctors and nurses are. I'm in the bay writing. And the only thing I remember is waking up. And I had slid the pen all the way, just made like and the patient is over my right shoulder. I had literally fallen asleep in the middle of writing this guy's prescription in front of him. Luckily, my back was to him, so he didn't see it. I was like, geez, this is dangerous. Like, I can't do this. When he left, I went upstairs and literally went up into a window where it has a ledge and went to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, that's how bad it was. Sleep is critical, and people aren't getting enough sleep. It's dangerous, by the way. On the Rachel Ray show, they said, Dr. Ian, why don't you do a sleep thing? So I had to go and stay up for 24 hours and then do a driving test. So we went back to Cambridge, and I was going to my old haunts from college to kind of keep me, I went to the Border Cafe, I did all these things. And I had 2 producers who were nudging me to keep me awake, right? Like, Dr. Ian. So anyway, then we went and did the sleep test after 24 hours of being awake. And I thought I was doing great. I'm like, I got this. Are you crazy? We're in the car.
Oh, the drive test. Okay.
Yeah, the drive test. Yeah. Sorry, I said sleep test. I'm doing the drive test. They got cameras all over me and stuff. I'm like, I'm good. I'm driving. Holy cow. They played back the video.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I
was sleeping. I was over the road. But I felt like I was in complete. My wife said, how'd you? I was like,
Crushed.
Great. So anyway, sleep is extremely important. People have to realize that not only is sleep restorative, right? Your body needs time to just get down and kind of go back to basics, but also weight loss.
Yeah.
Not getting enough sleep increases bad hormones, which cause weight gain and prevent weight loss. So I now sleep about, if I get 6 to 7 hours, that's a solid sleep for me.
That's a good sleep for you, really.
If I go more than that, and some people are like this too, by the way, if I do too much, I get sleepier. Like, I can't. I have to. Like,
gotta find that window. Yeah.
Yes, I wake up at 5. I wake up 5:30 every morning. My body just says, "Let's go." So but sleep's important.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Any book recommendations? Whatever you want to.
In general, my books are just books in general.
Your books, of course, but books that you would recommend to somebody who. Okay, how about not even nutritional books. Nutritional book, go get Dr. Ian's books. Yeah. What other books, if people are trying to be the best version of themselves, or whatever it is, inspirational books, what have you loved?
One of my favorite books is, I write fiction too, by the way. I write mysteries. We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, next time.
But I write murder mysteries. Okay. But one of my best favorite books is a book called A Separate Piece by John Knowles. It's an old school book. It's a little thin book.
Novel or?
It's a novel.
Okay.
It's called A Separate Piece. I love that book. And the book is about kind of this relationship with this guy going through school, and kind of, it's a coming of age book. And I just think that if people read that book, it just has a great perspective on it. It just teaches you about life in general. So there's that. I also want to recommend, I do all these challenges on Instagram to help people. So like right now we're doing a soup challenge. But I do all these different fun challenges. So my Instagram is at Dr. Ian Smith. So follow me on that. And, I just think that, I just think people should be motivated to try to live the best they can and not stress about being perfect. I never ask people to be perfect, ever, because no one's perfect. What I say is just try to be the best version of yourself you can be.
Ah, I love that. That's what we're all about on this show. Give me your last meal. Now, you can go whatever you want with this, okay? We're not talking clean and lean here.
The last thing I ate, my wife fixed.
Your last meal. Let's say
that's easy.
this is going to be the last meal you ever get to eat.
Oh, geez. I'd rather read a prison story about these guys in their last meal. I said, what would I do? So this is what my last would be. It would be, it'd be 2 entrees, by the way. It would be salmon, grilled salmon, barbecued salmon. I love barbecue sauce. It'd be cedar planked barbecue salmon on a bed of mashed potatoes and cucumbers. Oh,
mashed potatoes. That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, this place in New York called the Royalton Hotel, they used to serve it like this.
Mashed potatoes and cucumbers?
Yes. On a bed, you put the mashed potatoes, put a bed of cucumbers on it, and put the salmon on it.
Really?
Oh,
this is in America?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the combination of flavors. It's the flavor, the textures, the flavors.
I'm going to try it. I can't wait to try
this. It's delicious. It's delicious.
This is your last meal. Okay, whatever. What's the other one?
And I would have to have a 2 fried bone-in pork chops. You got to have a lot of fat around the rim of it because that's where the flavor is. So when I do eat fried pork chops every once in a while, and I'll tell the butcher, make sure give me the ones with the, because if you're going to go, you got to go all the way.
Go all the way. Okay.
That, and then my mom or my wife, I'm going to be equal, mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese. That's a good one.
I'd be good. Yeah. If I had that, geez, you're making me hungry just thinking about it.
If you could sit down with anybody in history, living or dead, who would you sit down with?
Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill.
Fantastic. I can't get enough of that guy. I read his bios. I just, he was a quirky little guy and he was so powerful. And how he handled Britain during the Blitz. I went to London. If everyone goes to London, go to what's called the Cabinet War Rooms. They've left, this is a bunker in the ground during the Blitz, and they left the rooms just like they were when they're all down there. And you see, you've ever been there?
Never.
Next time you go to London, you got to go to the Cabinet War Rooms.
Yeah.
And it's a snapshot in time. And Winston Churchill, I thought was just amazing.
Yeah, I was watching that was it on HBO or Showtime? One of those. They had I don't know. Did you see that series, The Queen?
Yes.
I think it's called Queen.
The Queen.
Right? Yeah, that was great.
That's on PBS.
Is it on PBS?
Yeah. But Winston Churchill, when he says we will never surrender. Jeez.
Get going.
Get my juice going.
What is your favorite movie and why?
Ooh, wow. Jeez, well, that's easy. You know that.
Is it?
Well, The Godfather.
The Godfather.
The Godfather is, it is so good that every time I watch it, and I hope to write books like this, by the way, The Godfather is so good that every time I watch it, the emotions are fresh. And I know what's coming, but I still feel the emotions. When they have the horse in the horse head in the horse head in the guy's bed, when Sonny's going through the toll booth, and they shoot him up. When the scene when the christening is happening, and they get the revenge on all the guys up in the barbershop and they shoot him through the eye. I mean, The Godfather is just a masterpiece. And then I would say equal to that on a different frame is Dead Poet Society with Robin Williams.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh,
both good movies. Robin Williams is a genius. Inspirational. Dead Poet Society.
Wasn't it phenomenal?
Makes you want to go learn.
It was just a great movie. Everything about it. I got to go see that again. I mean, on Netflix, but I got to see that again. But anyway, those are my two.
Good. All right, last question. What's one area of your life that you'd like to improve in that you're wide open to learning more about?
I would like to be more patient. More patient. I think that I've gotten better, by the way. I'm a work in progress, but I think I'm very impatient because my mind kind of goes very fast and I want to do things quickly. And like tomorrow is always too late for me. And so I want stuff now or yesterday. And they said, when do you want it, Dr. I say yesterday. I'm not kidding. I'm not just being cliche. So I'd like to be more patient and realize that the world's not going to come to an end if I don't get what I want when I want it. Right? It sounds very juvenile. I teach my kids that, but that's a problem for me. And I think that I need to be more tolerant of, I got to be more tolerant of not different. I'm very tolerant of differences, but I have to be tolerant that people may not think the way I'm thinking when I'm thinking, right? Or see what I'm seeing when I'm seeing, right? I get impatient. Like, you don't see this? Like, come on. They're like, well, no, I don't see it. And then I just could be better at that, So I always say to my kids too, by the way, that dad's a work in progress, And while I work hard and try hard, that I'm trying to, give people space to do what they got to do and be what they have to be. I think that patience also teaches humility, right?
Love it.
My coach used to say in high school, never read your headlines. Jeez, that was great for me because I really didn't, sometimes when people will talk about all I've accomplished, I don't really think about it that way. So you've written 17 books, you have 9 New York Times bestsellers. I'm like, oh man, you're right. Because I feel like if you get caught in your headlines, then it distracts you from the work. On the flip side, every once in a while, you have to look up from the trenches and look at the landscape of life and actually say, geez, I've come a decent distance, right? Like from my little small house I grew up in, like I go back to and look at sometimes. I've come a long way from there, but I don't focus on that because I'm still trying to dig.
Yeah.
So I just think those are the things.
Great stuff, Doc. I appreciate you being on the show with me.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
3,